line for Andrew John. Inside for Elba. Elba will score. Elba will score. Newcastle have won the grand final.
He's got the ball. Jared Hayes. Oh, superstar, superhuman. Call him what you like. The speed of a bullet. He hits it. He's got it. He's got the field goal. He's got the premiership. He has gone from, as I said, a captain to a legend, and probably rugby league immortality. That's not a try. That's a miracle.
Today we're going to throw it back to 2014 with a pack of footy cards on the front. Sammy Thaiday, GI, Thurston, Sonny Bill, DCE, a really all-star cast. Of course, 2014, the year after, DCE took on Sonny Bill Williams in the 2013 grand final, Manly versus Roosters. Sonny Bill Williams got the trophy, DCE got the Clive Churchill medal, cracking grand final there. 2014, funnily enough, we had GI on the front. We all know how that season finished with GI doing the goanna. South Sydney winning their first premiership in 40-odd years or something. Simply incredible. Their 21st premiership. Unbelievable scenes. JT also on the front there. He would go on to win the Dalian medal in 2014. Really cracking season of rugby league. I'll open up this now. Let's see how we go. We've opened up a number of cards on here. We've never really got a massive big hit yet, which has been a little bit disappointing. Fingers crossed there's one coming soon. It's been a while. Okay, our first card, Dale Copley. Obviously back playing at the Brisbane Broncos. Brisbane Broncos? I think he's at the Brisbane Broncos, isn't he? Is that one of the Queensland Cubs anyway? He had an injury a couple of weeks ago where he hurt his throat. I think he fractured his throat, the physio was saying, which sounds awful. Not something that I am jealous of at all. Jamie Lyon from the Manly Seagulls. Not a great picture of Jamie Lyon on this one. A champion footballer, though. What a legend. Just... He could just do things that not many others could. Killer. He was unbelievable. Turned out to be one of Manly's greatest ever players. Could have been one of Parramatta's greatest ever players to me. Obviously left in 03 or 04, just decided rugby league wasn't for him anymore. Been back to Weewar, I think it is, and played there and came back to Manly, eventually went over to England, went over there and won the Man of Steel, was unbelievable. I believe he played for St Helens, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Definitely won a Man of Steel, though. Came back to Manly, was involved in a couple of premiership victories there. Sort of revolutionised the centre position a little bit as like a second 5'8", but no one could really keep up with him. So he did revolutionise it, but no one could sort of copycat what he was doing. He was simply too good, Jamie Lyon. Our next man, Boyd Cordner, Sydney Roosters captain, obviously in a little bit of Barney rubble at the moment. He's out of the game because of his concussion injuries. They haven't been overly kind to him. Fingers crossed we can see Boyd Cordner back at the end of this season because he's just too tough not to have in our game. I absolutely love Boyd Cordner. I think he's one of the better players in our competition, one of the most consistent players by far and away. He's a guy that I really want to see back as soon as possible. Our next card, Johnny Morris, Cronulla Sharks. Obviously, he's the coach now. Pretty funny, that one. He's sitting on this one, 289 first-grade games. Previous clubs, Newcastle Knights, Parramatta Eagles, West Tigers. He obviously played for 4 clubs. He ended up notching up 300 games. Pretty impressive to knock up 300 games. I mean, he never stayed at a club for more than 4 or 5 years. He was never consistently the starting hooker at a club for 4 or 5 years. He just did a job for numerous clubs, Johnny Morris, a real clubman. And now the last club he was at, the Cronulla Sharks, he's gone on to coach them. Pretty impressive, and I think he's done a fantastic job. Our next man, Brett White, one of the guys we had in the podcast, actually the first ever guy we interviewed on the podcast, Brett White, champion fellow who's come back on a few times. Canberra Raiders knocked over the Cronulla Sharks the other night. You would have seen him on the sideline there. Was obviously at the Melbourne Storm, won a premiership there in 2009, but was involved in the salary cap scandal, was forced to leave, arrived at Canberra, and he's really made himself a home there. If you haven't listened, scroll all the way back and you can have a listen to my first ever interview with Brett White. Bit cringy for me to listen back to that one. You guys might enjoy it, though. Next man, Kirk Gidley out of the Newcastle Knights, obviously the younger brother of Matt Gidley. Coming in as the son of the brother of an absolute gun was really tough for Kirk Gidley, I thought, but he really had a fantastic career up in Newcastle. Wasn't part of a premiership winning team or anything there, but was a one-club man. Played well over 200, probably well over 250 games for the Newcastle Knights. Played for New South Wales, captained the Blues, captained the Newcastle Knights, played for the Kangaroos as well, I believe. So a fantastic career for Kirk Gidley, sort of a fullback 5'8" hooker sort of player who could just cover a lot of spots. Okay, our next card is a close the gap round. It's a shiny card, Jamal Idris, a guy that bounced around a lot of clubs. Jamal Idris, off the top of my head, Canterbury, Gold Coast. I think there might have been one or two others as well. Just a different sort of bloke, Jamal Idris. He just danced to his own beat, didn't he? And he was happy doing it. Got a lot of respect for Jamal Idris. He copped a lot of criticism throughout his career, but he just went about his business doing Jamal Idris. Played State of Origin, represented his country. Pretty handy footballer. Our next man, and this is 2013 Heritage Round card. Pretty clean card here. Goes to Matty Gillette. Gillette, the best a man can get. One of my favourite Broncos of all time. I think he's a big part of the reason why they're struggling now, to be honest with you. They had their next captain, their next leader, and he was forced to retire all of a sudden. I think it left the Broncos with a massive hole. They had all these excitement machines in their forward pack, all these guys that could have a million offloads, break 55 tackles, but they couldn't hang in there for 80 minutes. Matt Gillette, he would have been perfect for this side. He would have been the captain for a long time to come, and a guy I've got a lot of respect for. Obviously, a crucial part of that Queensland dynasty. They had an Australian Kangaroo to a champion player. Ash Taylor, another man that played a role in the Queensland dynasty there, sort of a lock forward 5'8". I think he played Roosters, South Sydney, Gold Coast Titans. Really handy, Ash Taylor. Sorry, not Ash Taylor. Ashley Harrison, just a handy, reliable footballer, could play a vast array of positions, extremely versatile, and would do a job for you wherever you put him. Our next man, Robbie Farah, the West Tigers hooker for a long time, obviously won the premiership in 2005 with the West Tigers, played there for a long time, had a short stint where he had to leave after a big blowout with Jason Taylor, went to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, did really well there, I thought. Sort of arrived at South Sydney as Damien Cook was coming onto the scene, so it was borrowed time for him. Damien Cook would eventually be the starting nine there, but I thought Farah did a great job. Probably played a pretty good role in who Damien Cook's become too. Came back to the West Tigers, and I thought he was fantastic for them in his last season or two. I don't know what season it would have been. Would it have been 2019, or maybe it was last year, 2020? The first 10 weeks, he was unreal. He was laying tries on left, right, and centre. Obviously, the hooker that shared duties with Michael Ennis coming up against this Queensland dynasty, coming up against Cameron Smith. He just came through in the wrong era, Robbie Farah. A lot of, obviously, Cameron Smith for one, but then Mick Ennis, these guys that were around him. So always tough for Farah. I don't think he was ever respected like he should have been. Ben Crave of the St George Illawarra Dragons, premiership winner in 2010, captain of the Dragons for a number of years, played for New South Wales, played for Queensland. I think people only remember the time that he pushed Hodges, then he backed off. But this guy was a brilliant second rower for a long time, and he was tough as nails when it came to footy, no doubt about it. A guy I've got a lot of time and respect for, and a real leader in our game. Our last man is another guy I had on the podcast, Terry Campese, another Canberra Raider. We've had a few from the Green Machine come on the podcast, which has been fantastic. Terry, when he was at his best, he was just unstoppable. Terry Campese, an absolute freak. A lot of injuries crippled his career, unfortunately. We probably never got to see the absolute best out of him for long enough. But the little stint where he was playing great footy, he was just unreal. He mentioned on the podcast that he almost signed with the Melbourne Storm. Fuck, wouldn't that have been interesting to see this guy land down there in Melbourne? He would have done some seriously special things. Still played for the Kangaroos, still played Origin in one series under Craig Bellamy. Didn't quite go to plan, and he was shafted, as were numerous really quality halves during Queensland dominance there over New South Wales. But Terry Campese, I think he's coaching down in Queanbeyan now, still helping out with the Raiders here and there, a champion fella.